Good afternoon, everyone, and you're very welcome back on this Wednesday evening to the Man United agenda. We have plenty to talk about, so let's get this ball thrown in. Well, hello, everyone. You're very welcome. And today I am your host, Rebel, taking the hot seat, and I'm going to be ably joined by the defensive coach, OMONDI Juma, and the man with a plan. He fought the law, but the law won, Pat Lawless.
How's it
How are
going,
we
Reb?
doing, gentlemen?
Good.
Yeah, I've
Good.
got my knife and fork out. I'm going to yum up this meal that you're serving up tonight, Rebel. I really like the subjects you're bringing to the show. I'm stimulated by this. I'm really looking forward to this. And I hope the people in the comments are ready to go as well. This is going to be something a bit different. But we're talking about the game of football and rule changes and how it's going to affect the game, which is really important, the game we love.
Absolutely. Now, Pat, I know we haven't spoken live on air since the weekend's events. How are you feeling after Sunday? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm ready to come down my shell again, you know?
Very good. But before we do dive into today's topics, we are going to be running a fantasy football competition in the coming season, and there will be an associated show. I'll get that code up on the screen for you now, so please do use the code on screen if you would like to participate. It is run on the fantasy.premierleague.com website, and it is free to join. We will be giving a wonderful trophy that has been sourced by our very own Mr. B to the winner. That is the person with the most overall points at the end of the season. And not to be undone, the presenters are also going to be on the chopping block. The one with the lowest return by season end will unfortunately end up having to do a forfeit. We're not going looking at Solo. He's told us he's going to brush up, but that forfeit, subject to some small terms and conditions, will be decided by you, the viewers. We just ask that it's legal, that it is decent, and that it doesn't cause monetary hardship to the person. We want this to be a bit of fun and put a bit of jeopardy there for the presenters. So, without further ado, there's been a lot happening. On Monday, I know you like a good defender story. So let's kick this ball off with news that the deal for Martinez looks to be progressing. So how do you feel about this negotiation? Do you think we're getting this one over the line based on what you've been reading?
Yeah, just following developments. I think it's looks like we're on the verge of making our second major signing of this season, and then it's someone who I haven't been sort of impressed by really initially, but I think he's grown on me as weeks gone by and doing shows like this, listening to you guys, your insight into it. I do sort of get the feeling that, yeah, maybe it could be beneficial to our side. A side, mind you, that kept a clean sheet yesterday on their first opening game against Mouradin Liverpool side, who always score goals and always create chances. And I think to sort of, cut them out and not get sliced and diced through as a team yesterday, I think that's you have to give merit to the management and the players who played in defence, not just defence, but in midfield, and kept the shape and restricted his team to Liverpool team to minimal chances, clear-cut chances. They didn't open us up that much. Might have had a few shots and thing, but those things really difficult to avoid, But I will say this, Martinez as a player, suitable. Reason why? Because he's got technique. He can keep the ball and he will play it into feet, and he's going to reach his destination. He's cool and calm on the ball. He can intercept. I think that's really important these days. I have to sort of accept that football's changed now, and it's not just about these big balling defenders, big units who come through and crash through people, that kind of thing. You need to be able to read the game. Game's developing, and we see about rule changes that change the rules of the game. So it's all about advantage attackers these days. So the defenders are slightly changing now. We're getting more defenders that keep the ball and don't give it away. And this Martinez ticks the boxes in that respect, and he's left-footed as well. Because I know Pat was talking about a left-footed left back playing in centre back position yesterday and saying what was all that about. That was a big question mark for me. I'm not sure. But Martinez, I'm quite happy with the signing, and hopefully it will go through in the next couple of hours or day.
Okie dokie. Now, we do have a graphic to bring up before we come to you, Pat. Manchester United agree personal terms with Lisandro Martinez. It is reported earlier today that Manchester United have submitted a final £46 million bid for the player. Martinez has been attracting interest from Arsenal as well this summer, but always fancied ourselves as favourites to secure his signature, especially with Erik ten Hag now in charge at Old Trafford. This would suggest we would see real progress on the Martinez front in coming hours or days. He will join a squad which consists of currently 6 centre-backs, and some are expected to make way for the Argentina international. And just in the last few minutes on Sky Sports News, they are saying that it's come down now just to the structure of the fee. So, Pat, I'm going to come to you with this one. We, of course, are looking at acquiring a centre-back, but there's also reports that we will be looking at departures for one Alex Tuanzebe, who currently is leaving the tour for pre-season. We have got an approach from Napoli for Mr. Eric Bailly, because they obviously are going to be losing Koulibaly to Chelsea. And there's also speculation over the future of Phil Jones. Do you think if all those players were to leave and we were to complete this Martinez deal, that we might be running a bit light at centre-back? And how do you feel about Martinez?
Okay, so Lisandro Martinez, the butcher, as he's referred to in Ajax, that's a good start for a name. He's not called that because he's a little soft touch, as I referred to Victor Lindesoft last night. So I've watched this guy, like the rest of us, on countless YouTube videos. We all know how YouTube videos can let us down and lead us to believe that a footballer is a lot better than he actually is. What fills me full of confidence is the fact that Ajax have done their best to hold on to this player. 1, because of his quality. 2, because of the international break is going to be coming up now towards the end of the year, and his value will increase if he has a good international let's call it, he has a good outing on his international with the team. So what I like about this guy from what I've seen is, 1, he sprays the ball like he's a midfielder. That's a plus straight away. This guy has confidence to spray it out from the back. He's not afraid to run forward with it. He has pace, and he's not afraid to break up the play either. A question I'd actually like to ask you two guys, because it's more of a tactical question, and what I've seen from him and watched Erik ten Hag's system is that when Ajax get the ball and they come out from the back, obviously we spoke about this during the night, that 4 defenders becomes 3, and the defender who has the ball goes forward, and that would be Martinez. So Martinez goes up and he pushes up into the midfield, which makes the midfield into a 3 or a 4. So after we have a shot on goal, and just say, for example, we lose that, does Martinez, as the player, the type of player that he is, does he hang around in the midfield until an influx of the opposition players come back into our half and act like a CDM, or does he get straight back into defence? I just wanted to ask your guys' opinion about that. So is he kind of acting like a kind of a sweeper to the midfield until he gets back into a position as a centre half? I want to know what you guys thought of that. And if anybody has an opinion in the comments as well, let me know, because I'm really interested to know what Martinez is going to do on this.
Rebel, do you want this? Or?
Go ahead on Monday. I see you're itching to get at it.
Great question. All right, I think there's 2 phases of play: when you got the ball, when you haven't got the ball. So when we've got the ball, what we want to do under Ten Hag is get numbers in the box, get numbers in the opposition half, but also have that security at the back. So as you mentioned, maybe you get 2 centre backs, you maybe get 3 a midfielder in front of them, and maybe the fullbacks as coming into the midfield as well. That would be your rest defence. The rest defence means that's the insurance that if we do get the ball turned over, they will be in place to prevent any sort of counter attack at our defense. And then any ball, and it gives you, it's a percentage thing. You can go 3-on-3 on a counter, but you'll be in a better position. You'll be ahead of the play. You won't be ahead of the play. You'll be compact in that sense. So the odds are that you will deal with it, even though it might look threatening. Whereas in the past, we'd be tracking back. We've seen players running back ahead of the play, that kind of thing. So the shape is the most important thing. So however they do it, whether it's the fullbacks come into the midfield, I think with Ajax, what he tended to do was one fullback would bomb on, the other fullback would come into midfield and create that rest defense in front of the centre backs. It depends on what Ten Hag's going to do. But yeah, it is like we saw with Bailey with the goal, the last goal. He helped with contributing, getting up further up in the pitch, and it does create an overload in the midfield. So whereas people can stifle each other, as soon as you get that, like Tyrone Mings or Harry Maguire last season, we saw two good examples where they added the extra man into the midfield, and suddenly teams panic like, who's picking him up? You know, and especially like you said, when you've got the technical ability of a Martinez who can drive into the box with that technical ability, can cut a man in half and create play a progressive pass in the opposition half. That's a great advantage. What do you think, Rebel?
Well, on Monday, I think you're after floating Battine's vote. He's getting ready for Love Island, and you're talking to him about what he holds dear to his heart, rest defences. So I think you've made his night. He's probably like Homer Simpson drooling, or TalkMU drooling, thinking about Will Fish. But,
we'll have to get straight into the comments after this now, just to please Mr. Batine.
I think, though, just thinking about the question that you posed, I think with the dynamic system that Ten Hag is going to hope to put together, there will be constant movement between players. So he will expect players to come back if other players are spraying forward. So you'd imagine then that the instruction will be to hold your gaps, that Martinez then, if losing the ball, will have to slot into a position in order to hold a structure in the lineup. So I don't think it'll be a case of you lost the ball, bomb back, because what should be there is that a Bruno or whoever should have been coming back in order to maintain the numbers that Ten Hag has deemed in his tactics. So that for me is what we'll probably see from Martinez. And the fact that, as you said, he plays like a midfielder is going to be absolutely outstanding for us. Now, I'm going to use a quote from Mr. Stephen Gerrard. I know the channel isn't a big fan of Slippery G's comments, but look, he made a great input into the state of Manchester United, having reviewed their game against Liverpool yesterday in pre-season. He said it looks like they have a different style. They want to be more aggressive and on the front foot. So with that in mind, and again just thinking on possible departures plus the Martinez coming in, with Maguire, Martinez, and obviously last season we had a rather hectic injury profile with Lindelof and Varane. Do you think that there is enough players there to achieve that aggressive front foot, or over the course of the games, could injuries play a part? Now, Pat, I know you want to jump on this one because I think you have an input on this for us.
Yeah. So we obviously have the initial starting lineup who we expect to see is going to be Maguire and Varane. We have the backup in Lindelof, and now we're going to have Martinez, and we're going to say to ourselves, quite possibly there are 4 defenders. Now we're going to lose possibly 2 Nzabi, Bailey, and a glorified leader of the defensive midfield role, Phil Jones. Now, what I said a couple of weeks back, and I keep saying it to the lads, I don't know who it's going to be, but there's going to be 1 or 2 players who are going to play in a different position, and they're going to really shock us. And I've seen Alex Telles play in the left as a centre back last night. Now, OMONDI, I know you were smiling, and this could have been just thrown in as a last gasp, but there has to be one player that Erik Ten Hag sees something in and goes, I can work on that with you. I can make that with you. And I'm hoping after one game that was a sign that I've seen something from Erik Ten Hag implementing his style into a player that he thinks he can play in a different position. Because some midfielders, people might call them failed midfielders that go into the defense, but some midfielders play better in defense, and that's what I think. That's my opinion now. But after watching Telles play last night, he was able to go into the rest defense, like you said, OMONDI, with the 3 men. Is it the rest defense is the 3 men at the back or the 2 men?
Yeah,
it's the 3 men or the 2 men. The rest defense.
Well, in sort of centre backs.
Yeah.
I think it varies. There's different variations of it.
Well, what I saw last night was Telles. Telles was bombed forward and they pulled in tight together. And I like to see that from Telles. And I think that's what I'm kind of expecting to see from Martinez, only better. And maybe he might just keep Tellez as a left back and as a replacement centre back, and to fill the voids of the Carabao Cups, etc., etc., etc. And maybe there may not be another need to buy another player, and that keeps the wage bill down. Versatility into the squad once again.
Just an input there for you. Bat time with Vaughan has said rest defence is 5 men.
Okay, very good.
That'd be, yeah, that's true. Maybe 2 centre backs and 3 in front of them or something like that.
All right, okay.
Just quickly, just to add, to answer your question, I was laughing because we kind of running joke about Tellez. I mean, you watched the whole game. I've managed to watch the majority of the game now since yesterday. But it was great listening to you yesterday, Pat, on the show, talking about Tellez and talking about the variations that we had on the pitch, you know, the youngsters and all that kind of thing. So I would say this, we've gone Dutch, we've gone total football, players that can play in various positions. And that's a great example with Tellez there, going into centre-back and filling in, gives him confidence. He is 6 foot tall, maybe he can do that. I'm just going to give you a couple of examples I've just written down here about total football, which you can't be restricted to one position. I used to be right wing. I used to be a great striker at top level. A good level, sorry. I used to be a good striker at a good level when I was fast and young and things. Then I dropped back to midfield. Now I'm a centre back. So I've managed to play all positions. And it's only by playing positions that you learn how to do things. Like strikers to centre backs, that usually happens because they get marked by centre backs. They learn how to read the game. Dion Dublin, for example, he's a great striker, but he knew how to play centre back. Paul Warhurst, he used to play for Blackburn. He ended up playing, he was a centre back, he ended up playing a striker, scored a bang of goal, a load of goals, and got called up for England as a striker one time. Chris Sutton played centre back. Frank Stapleton, if you remember 1985 Cup final, when Kevin Moran got sent off, Frank Stapleton was playing up front. He ended up playing centre back with Paul McGrath, and we won the game and kept a clean sheet. So it's all players with good intelligence can play anywhere, I believe. Obviously, there's certain attributes that you wouldn't have someone like Gordon Strachan playing centre back, for example. But then he's short. But then you got players like Mateus who dropped into a sweeper. And sorry, you're going to say, yeah. Go on.
But just to make a good point on exactly what you said about Gordon Strachan, I seen Tellez standing beside Nunes, and he didn't look out of place. And that Nunes lad is a big lad, and he's fast. Yeah. And Tellez has the pace in him. I'm not saying he's going to be out the capable of the man marking for the whole season, and he's the next big thing. But he didn't look out of place. You know, he didn't look afraid. He looked like he was ready to stand up to him toe to toe. And sometimes I feel like I just don't get that with Victor Lindelof. I'm not slating Victor off. I just feel like I don't see that toe to toe aggression. I'm ready to go to war with you. And we definitely didn't see it with the likes of Harry last year because his confidence was just shot. And the same with Luke Shaw. So I'm all for Tellez to give him a go.
I think that's the option, as you say, because we've got 4 centre backs, which is more than enough, I think. But like you said, Rebel raised a great point about Varane. Can we keep him fit, for example? And then you're looking down to Lindroth. I think he's been consistently fit. It's only last season had a few respiratory issues. I think that's gone away now. But he's consistently kind of fit as well. So I don't think we've got an issue there, centre back. But if there is a problem and we do need to fill in, someone gets sent off, for example, then like you said, I think Tellez has got the ability to maybe do a job and have a clean sheet on his CV against Liverpool in 45 minutes is a good way to endorse himself.
Very good, very good. Before we get into the comments, I do want to bring up one that has caught my eye and I want to put it to ye both. Eric Bailly was great yesterday, says, Sephir, what is the plan? Is it to keep him and use Martinez as a CDM or to deploy Tellez, as Pat has stated, in either the left back, centre back, right back, kind of across the back 3, back 4 line? Now, we have heard rumours that we have been contacted by Napoli. Do you think it's a good idea to encourage that transaction, Pat?
I love Eric Bailly. I would love to have him in that starting lineup every week. Because he's crazy as a bag of cats. That's the best thing I could say without cursing. He's energetic. He's vibrant. He kick his granny, and he'll run through a brick wall for you. The only problem I have with Eric Ten Hag, he does this to me every once in a while. He comes back, he plays 3 or 4 games, and I'm like, maybe he'll get a run. Maybe he'll be great. And then all of a sudden, he's gone again, and my heart's broken, and he's gone for the season, and then we're back wishing we had somebody like him again. Eric Bailly came to Manchester United in 2016 and 2017 season. Okay, let's compare him with David De Gea. from 2016 to 2017. David De Gea played 263 games from 2016 to 2017. Just want to take a wild stab at how many games Eric Bailly has played since then.
Shoot, I couldn't even begin to guess.
113 games. In comparison to a player, he should have played as many games as. So if he's fit, if somebody's looking for him, it's maybe time to part ways, as much as I love Eric Bailly.
Very, very
Just
poignant.
I think people get nostalgic about Eric Bailly because it's always life and death defending. They love that. People think Jamie Carragher, oh, he was fantastic in the cup final, the European Cup final, where they came back from 3-3, these last-ditch challenges and getting cramped, that kind of thing. What about this guy being out of position? This is what I think with Bailly. You've got to be out of position to do these last-ditch challenges and that kind of thing. I find that terrible. I would rather see you read the game and not have to sweat or worry about, getting down to ground or going to ground in the box trying to block something. Read the game, stand up as a centre back and look cool as possible. That's a real sign of a class centre back. Granted, he's got all the athletic ability and all that kind of thing. I saw him in the second half yesterday perform really well, and I've seen him play pretty well in certain games. He's obviously a decent player, but I think he should go because I think we need to move forward now. I don't like the aggression. I think he's too rash, and I think that his injury record as well, as Pat just highlighted with the 100 games in that period of time, it's not good enough. And I think he's had plenty of opportunity to turn it around at the club, and he hasn't. So whatever injuries he's got and everything else, go and take that somewhere else, I believe. And let's move forward with Martinez and a different kind of play, because I think if you remain with these players who are on good wages and maybe should be playing first team football elsewhere, it's stifling his own career. So I'm not just saying I don't dislike him. I just think for his career, he needs to go and get first team football and re-establish himself and his name, get his name back.
He was fantastic, but the injury record, I'll just highlight, he played 38 games in his first season. He played a total of 18 after that. In the next season, 18 after that. Then he played 11 games in the season after that. He got 21 the following season and 7 last season. So
not good enough.
It's not good enough for what we're trying to achieve, considering when we were at our best and we were winning leagues with Everett, Gary Neville, Everett, Finich, Ferdinand, and
Valencia.
Valencia.
Neville.
Yeah. When did any of them ever get injured? And if they did, it was never for too long. And they were consistent. They were on the team sheet every week.
And also, just to add to that as well, I think a defense unit needs to be familiar with one another. If you can't just have someone come in expecting to perform well in Bailey, if he's injured all his time or he's the side man. Lindros does a good job coming in every so often, but he's been there a while. He's familiar. He knows he's very cool and calm. He's not a leader. He will follow. And I think Bailey, he led the line yesterday. Credit to him with Teles in as his partner. Credit to him again. So he must have been the leader of that back line yesterday. But I think the back line needs to be a unit which is familiar with one another, especially now under these new instructions. They need to know what's going on. So I think if you get Martinez in and get rid of Bailey, then I think we'd be stronger in that sense, because Martinez will definitely know how to organize his defense.
Thanks very much, gentlemen, for your comments on this topic. I'm going to have to say, take on some water. We'll have a water break because Love Island with Vaughan is asking us to get at some comments. So let's duly oblige and get into these viewer comments. I think there's a few of them marked here. So Bart, the serious Liverpool fan, he's back with us again today. He's saying that Zidane Iqbal should be knocking on the door for a contract increase because he's under significantly less earnings than Elanga. Do you want to give a quick opinion on that? Should he do that?
Great performance yesterday when these players step up. I mean, you see them playing at their own level, under 18s, under 23s, and they're smashing it. What's to say they can't step up to senior level and do the same? He smashed it yesterday. Great player. I see him get the ball to feet with his back, great vision. You can feel all that hair. You think, how the man's on your back? But you just pop it off. Intelligent, 1-2 touch. This is exactly what Ten Hag loves. And I was really impressed with him yesterday. Great little player.
So
Totally agree with that statement. And the reason why I say it is, regardless of their age, when they have the ball at their feet, Charlie and Zidane yesterday, they just did not look out of place. And that's what you can't, you don't learn that you're born with that trait in football. You just looked excellent. That's all I have to say about the two of them.
Excellent, excellent. Now, the next bunch are a bunch of hellos. I see Eddie Football Waffle, Colm O'Connor, Vincent Bullock,
Big ups, lads.
TalkMU, GMS, Diz Mob. So they're all in the chat. And we have Koalani Lynn is back as well. So welcome back to the channel.
Back.
So the next comment is from GMS. He hasn't seen much Martinez, but he's honestly looking forward to hearing our thoughts. So I hope you did enjoy the comments from the lads on that topic. And if you have any other questions about him, please be free to throw them into the chat for us. Colm O'Connor, our analytics man, is saying Martinez is going to fit into the Prem perfectly. And I know people are going to say he's only 5'9". That might be true, but last season he faced 112 aerial duels and he won 70% of them. So, man must have a leap about him. JR, coming on to the YouTube burn comment, I think that Pat mentioned earlier. His first one was Overton, and YouTube made him looking like Ryan Giggs, but oh, God. It's moving swiftly along. Our resident Dutchman, Vincent, he says, we're going to miss our butcher at Ajax, but lots of success with him, guys. So he is a big fan of our...
Thanks, Vincent.
Yeah.
Mehdi is in the building. Hello, Mehdi. It kind of seems like Erik ten Hag is planning to play with a 3-back line. Hi, everyone, by the way. So, obviously, we have covered the way that he expects his wing-backs to operate and how that will turn out. So, that will be interesting, obviously, during the course of the season. Vincent is back again saying, Martinez is actually very good with headers, great on the ball, and provides the width of the field by his passing to the outer areas. And he's a nasty one. Now, that does fill my heart with joy because I do love a good tackle.
Yeah.
Gavin is endorsing you for coach at Manchester United on Monday. You'd be glad to know.
I'll take that.
Bat time with Vaughan, or Love Island with Vaughan, as I'm going to call him for the rest of the month. Does Martinez context attacking corners and set pieces? The less than 120 aerial duels suggests not. So, Colm, I think, is actually after replying to him. So let's use Colm's input on this one. Bat time with Vaughan, he says, when I looked at those stats, it was defensive actions only, not attacking. He scored 6 last season, so that would suggest he does get in amongst the goals and also had 5 assists. So that is a nice little return.
Good man, Colin, but good fair play back to him as well.
We've covered the Sefer one already. Vincent again. Erik ten Hag would play Martinez as the permanent left-footed centre-back because he found that position the most optimal for him then as a CDM. So what does that mean for Harry Maguire? OMONDI Juma, take this comment. I know you want to.
I have to respect the Dutchman. He's obviously got more experience and more observation of Ajax than I have. So I respect that. But I just think with a season going in, there's going to be so many games crammed in. And obviously there's could be injuries as well. And being a captain, I think Harry Maguire will find a place in the team. You've got Varane gets injured. You've got Maguire can play on the right-hand side as well. And it'd be nice to have that balance of 2 players that can spray the ball, whether it's the left-foot player can spray the ball to the right-hand side and the right-foot player can play it to the left if that's necessary. That's the ball we want to play. Yeah, I agree. I don't mind.
Pat?
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with a bit of competition. That's what I think.
Yeah, great point.
Excellent. Eddie's Football Waffle, he's astounded by that groundbreaking stat on buy that you gave. 18 games a season. Can this club finally trade players properly? So he's astounded by that. Abdullah Irwin, I see your comment, but it's on the next topic, so I will come back to it. Bat Time with Vaughan says he thinks aerial duels are based off all actions, not just defensive. And he's unsure of the methodology, but it's madness to only count duels in the final third, he's saying. So that's a statistical debate between the two lads. Gavin Ward, he says the problem with Eric Bailly is that he makes the most stupid mistakes every now and again. The best one was a viral video on YouTube when he was on international duty a couple of years ago. So any idea what that one is about, gentlemen?
I've seen a few from Bailey, and he's right. I agree with his comment. He does make some stupid mistakes, really rash. It's like blinkers on. I'm going for the ball, and I don't care who's in front of me. I'm just coming through, running through brick walls to get that. It's like a funny story about Yaya No, not Yaya. Colo Toure, when he had his trial at Arsenal, he just went through Bergkamp, went through. This is a trial in training. Went through Bergkamp, went through Henry, just ran through him, and then Arsene Wenger was on the pitch with the whistle, and he went through him as well. That's it. Good, you know?
Well, the only one thing I'll say about Eric Bailey is he's the only man to kick Zlatan Ibrahimovic and live to tell the tale. So you can take that one as well.
You never know if he ends up back in Italy. Maybe Zlatan will finally get his revenge.
That's true.
But Emma Kay, one of our resident ladies, is back with us again today. She says, doesn't really matter how many balls they win. If they don't direct it to a teammate, Maguire just puts his head down, puts his head in the ball, and it goes straight to an opponent's feet. So a bit of dissatisfaction to Mr. Maguire. And then finally, Robert Norman. I can just feel Mr. B grinning from ear to ear reading this comment. How good was it to see the new Martial 2.0 under Eric Ten Hag? And
the Dutch Effect Part 2.
And with that, Love Island with Vaughan has left the building. And that being said, gentlemen, I think it's time where we port this on to topic number 2. And I know, Monday, you're not going to enjoy this topic. It's one that's been going around for quite some time. But it's that man, Frankie de Jong. So I'm going to open this with another graphic here that we have. And do you want to read this one on Monday for us?
Yeah, I would love to read it for you. So Frankie de Jong, Man United make an ultimatum to hesitant Frankie de Jong. This is the headline. Hesitant. Obviously, he's stalling. Man United have issued Frankie de Jong with an end-of-week ultimatum. Sport says United have informed de Jong and Barcelona they will pull out of the deal agreed if the player continues to refuse to leave the Nou Camp. United have told de Jong's agents they will pull out of the negotiations and turn elsewhere if an agreement cannot be reached by the weekend. United and Barca have already settled on a fee rising to £85 million for the midfielder. However, the Dutchman is stalling on the move as he doesn't want to give up the outstanding wages owed after deferring a percentage of his wages for the past 2 seasons. United have been attempting to reach terms over de Jong for 14 blood clot weeks. Excuse me, but I'm getting frustrated with this deal.
Thank you very much for reading that one. Now, is it a case that the Flying Dutchman will have to walk the plank like in the Pirates of the Caribbean, or are we, should I say, getting enough information through back channels that there is a deal to be done here? However, that the agents are advising Frankie to present this front because if they don't, it could result in a significant financial loss for the player. And what I will also ask you is, if we should walk away, then who do you think is the most viable candidate that we can probably get in the door, bearing in mind that we're, 2-3 weeks away from commencement of season?
What I'll say about the Frankie Too Long saga is it's purely money and purely contracts at the moment. Man United, I think our name is being dragged through the muck after we're trying to change our ways with the way that our transactions have gone the last couple of years. I think it was Fabrizio Romano said earlier on that Frankie de Jong isn't actually in any contact with Barcelona. It's purely his agents dealing with the situation. This is down to the fact that he's owed this apparent 17 million that keeps getting floated around the place. We don't know how much it is. This is what we get told. So his 2 agents are actually dealing with this at the moment. And what my problem I have about this is they're taking a percentage, obviously, from that 17 million for what he gets paid, because they obviously arranged a contract. And if he's going to leave Manchester United, if he's going to go to Manchester United and he leaves that 17 million behind, they don't get their percentage. So they're going to be asking him, they're going to be probably instructing him to stay there for financial reasons, financial gain more so than football reasons. So I think, Rebel, you're 100% right in what you're saying. Maybe we should move on and try and get somebody on a short-term basis that might be able to fill a gap, because of the financial element, I think this is going to drag on, and it's absolutely out of Manchester United's control. It's between the agents of Frankie de Jong and Barcelona to sort this out, because there's no way he's going to stay at Barcelona and take a pay cut and lose that kind of money at the same time.
Thank you very much, Pat. Now, before I redirect you on Monday, we have seen today that Chelsea have managed to do business in rather brisk fashion for one Mr. Koulibaly, who we have mentioned. Napoli are looking to replace him with Eric Bailly. They moved with brisk pace, and we seem to be presenting, at least on the space of it, a lethargic front in the way that we're conducting our business. And maybe we're not taking the cues that deals are not there to be done. What is your opinion, firstly, on this Frankie Toulon saga, and secondly, on what I've just outlined?
Frankie Toulon, I love it. I love it. Brilliant wordplay there. Frankie de Jong, I think he's a crucial signing. I don't think, as I said, 14 weeks we're pursuing this guy. There must be something in it. We must be sniffing around, knowing that there's still interest there. You know, I like the idea of getting him, and if we have to persist, I don't mind. The only thing we have to be clear about is that there's negative and positive news coming out every day. Laporte has come out and said defending Barcelona. Frankie de Jong himself has said things which is saying, just protecting his interests. He's at Barcelona saying the great club, is great to be there. So I'm still thinking that there's something could go ahead. Otherwise, why would we make ourselves look like Wallies and continue to go out there time and time again and pursue this deal? I think it's Barcelona that they're playing the arc. I don't think it's Frankie so much. But regardless of that, I think Frankie's bought a nice house in a nice area in Barcelona. I think his wife appears to like living in Barcelona as well. I think it's always been his dream team to play for Barcelona, like Johan Cruyff. If you're Dutch, that's the second team outside in Europe that you want to play for. And they're playing in the Champions League as well. But then he is also being pushed out the club. So you've got to have some balance there. He can also come and play for Man United under his Ten Hag, where he can play in a role which he wants to play in, and which with a manager that understands him. Because if you look last season, he was playing as number 8. He was getting subbed for these teenage boys coming on who are great, mind you, Pedri and Xavi and Gabi. But it's like for him, you can see he's really disappointed with that. So I think there's pros and cons for the move, and I think he's weighing them up. I saw a great comment from Emma here saying that apparently. Emma's saying, she said, apparently Frank has not even turned up at the preseason game. So we don't know what's going on. I just think we need to pursue it. If we have given an ultimatum saying by the weekend, that's good. I like to see that by Man United about how we're changing, how we go about our deals. We don't want to be mugs again. A bit like how Dortmund said, right, if you want Sancho, you pay 120 million a couple of seasons ago. And we're bluffing now and saying, okay, Barca, you just spent money on Rafinha. Okay, we're going to walk away by the weekend if you don't give us some sort of main deal now. If you don't let this deal go through, and they'll be thinking, oh my God, suddenly we don't, we need that money. So there's a lot of cat and mouse, a lot of gamesmanship going on here. I'm still pretty confident, 60-40, that we will get Frankie de Jong, and it will be a great, great signing.
Thank you very much, OMONDI. Now, again, Pat, I'm going to redirect to you. Just looking at the premise, that is believed that Frankie's currently owed money from prior season as it stands, and they are now looking to conduct a significant wage cut again this year in order to make his position tenable in respect of their finances. Is there anything stopping Barcelona if he was to basically say, yeah, that's fine, lads, I'm prepared to eat that money, that they won't come back next season, the season after, and the season after? And at this stage, we're dealing with a political football.
I believe if anything like that was done, he would probably be in Barcelona be in breach of contract, and they'd have to pay him. So that's why I think these agents currently have the upper hand. Now, for somebody not to be paid 17 million to this date, there had to be an agreement in place. Clearly, Barcelona must be reneging on that now, because one, they're not paying him what he owes, so he can leave. Two, they're talking about asking him to take a further pay cut when he's already owed money. There's no way somebody turned around to him 6 to 8 to 12 months ago, whenever this started, and said, Frankie, we're going to ask you to take a pay cut, or we're not going to pay it, but we'll pay you later on. And in 8 months' time, we're going to ask you to take a pay cut again, and we're still not going to pay you. It just doesn't sound right to me. There's something not sitting with me. The fact that he's not communicating directly with Barcelona, the fact that we're hearing stories that he's been communicating daily with Eric Ten Hag, it just makes me feel that he wants to get out of there it's not being portrayed that way because he wants to get his money for the sake of his own financial gain, his agent's financial gain, and he has to keep his mouth shut, keep his cards close to his chest, and hopefully he can get as much money out of Barcelona before he leaves.
Thanks very much, Pat, for that insight. But before we continue, we have had a very generous super chat from Shopping Solutions 35. I'm not sure what currency that is, unfortunately, but he is very confident Erik ten Hag will get his requested signings. He is not panicking, so I am not panicking. So he is very cool, or she is very cool about the whole position regarding Erik ten Hag and signings. Now, there is 65 wonderful people in the chat. And so if you are enjoying what you're seeing and you want to keep up to date with Manchester United content here with us at the Man United Agenda, please consider giving us a like, a share, and a subscribe. We very much do appreciate it. And we do our utmost to bring you the news as it happens. And also, if you are interested in fantasy football, we are doing a competition on fantasy.premierleague.com. It is a free league to join. The code there is on screen, and there will be a trophy as sourced by our Friday night takeaway host, Mr. Ice Cold B. He will be designing that one personally for you, and we will be getting that out to you. And of course, what is a competition without a bit of jeopardy for the hosts? There will be a forfeit for the host with the lowest score at end of season. So be sure to give your thoughts on what you consider would be a fair forfeit for them to perform. And they will be doing it live on stream. So you have to consider that it has to be doable live on a stream for us. So TALKMU in the background has reliably taught me it's South African rant. So thank you very much for that. I could not figure out what it was when it popped
Much
up.
appreciated.
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, before we get on to our final topic, because it is kind of related to our dealings with one Ajax, there is rumours that we're still looking to try and get a deal done for Antony. £70 million is the price tag slapped in his head. Do you think that Ajax, having done the deal or looking to finalise the deal for Martinez, will be willing to let yet another player go?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think out of the two players in Martinez and Antony, I think they were looking to hold on to at least one of them because they'll make money off. They were definitely going to make money off either one of the players after the international break. So I think we'll be doing very well to get Antony out of Ajax after getting Martinez. If we do, I'll be more than happy with Antony from what I've seen.
Thank you very much. Now, I think it's been some time since we had a look at the comments, and I think there has been a lot of viewpoints about this Frankie too long to coin Pat's phrase at this point. I think this one could stick with us until this deal is either done or dumped at this point. So let's have a look at... So I'm going to go back to Abdul Irwin's comment from earlier on. He's saying, Gerard Romero says, De Jong's agent is interested in placing his client elsewhere because of how the player has been treated by Barca. So they're basically saying, in their viewpoint, that Frankie's been disrespected by his employer and it is time to get out of Dodge. Now, Gavin is telling us that we should walk away from this deal, in his opinion. It annoys him that the deal is coming down to money. This guy is already a millionaire, pure greed. But I suppose, just taking that into consideration, if he was to walk away from that money, would it set a precedent between footballers and the business stakeholders, aka the owners? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know how it works, and I wouldn't like to say something that I could be completely wrong on, but it could. Look, at the end of the day, the more money you have, the more money you need. The bigger your house, the bigger your car. You still have bills to pay. It could be pure greed at the same time. I'm really clutching at straws here, to be quite honest with you. He could just need the money. It could be just down to pure principle.
Thank you, Pat.
I just want to add to that as well. I do think, look, 17 million is a lot of money. and I think it is a principle of the deal. We will soon find out what's going on. I can imagine, because you just have to wait up. I'm only speculating, but I can imagine that Frankie Jong, that statement there about his agent looking for other clubs because they've been messed around. I think that's how he feels. He's a respected 25-year-old in his peak, almost world-class player, and he's being messed around like that. It's not right. It's not fair. And I think Barcelona really, the way they're doing their business is not very nice to a player that who I highly regard. So we at Man United, we're putting a message out. We regard you highly. We want to treat you well. I know we've had a reputation of treating players badly in recent years and not giving them a correct role, not giving them some sort of identification when they come. But with Frankie, it's different. He's coming in to our new rebuild, and he's got a role and a position there, and he can become a fan's favourite and get really loved and get paid as well.
And I would ring him up and say, "Who wants 70 million euro?"
Yeah, maybe Boris Johnson at this point, but we won't go into that. Moving right along, Colm O'Connor says we've wasted so much time on this deal that we need to focus we've wasted so much time this deal, and this has been the focus of the transfer window, and we are paying the price now because of it. Martinez has cost us more than it should, and it is likely going to be the same for Antony. So he thinks maybe that we might get that deal across the line too. Andy Long, very welcome. Has noticed you there in the last few shows. He's glad that United have issued an ultimatum. We wasted too much time around already playing Barcelona's games. So he thinks we're playing reindeer games with Barcelona. Robbie Norman says, in fairness, he's owed 17 million wages. Andy Mitten did a bit on it today on The Athletic. So be sure to give that a read if you are of the mind. Emma Kay is in saying Frankie was not even at their pre-season games, apparently. So Frankie stay away as well as Frankie too long by the sounds of it. Zephyr is telling us putting the valuable time we've wasted to the side. I think Manchester United, and being a club of the stature that it is, should be like, this is our offer. You have till X to accept or reject it. This is embarrassing. And next time we have Emma Kay back again. Gavin, that's a conversation. We'll move strictly along. Vincent, our resident Dutchman, is weighing in on the Frankie de Jong situation. Just to separate the situation from the humble person he is the embodiment of the perfect Erik ten Hag player. Without him, our national team is bang average. So that is a ringing endorsement.
Stop right there. I wanted to hear what Vincent had to say on this matter, and that just satisfies me nicely. I'm full up now. Thank you, Vincent.
You've given him his dinner. He's happy. And Mr. B is probably having his pasta as we speak because he's normally rumbling his tummy at this stage of the show.
I just Googled a few things there. Apparently, Frankie de Jong turned up for training 2 days ago, and he was one of the first to arrive back. So maybe if anybody else knows anything else about this, can you see if it's any truth in it?
Yeah, by all means, please give us your thoughts on that and whether you know anything and the sources of that. If you can, please, thank you. Andy Long says, why would we make ourselves look like Wallies? Have you been in a cupboard under the stairs for the past decade? Well, maybe Harry Potter has, but we certainly have been keeping our eye on the ball. Gavin Ward wasn't like subsidising his wages, so he's insinuating that more fiscal help was needed at Barca. Colin said, walk away right now. Go get your reads. Only 1 year the difference. Their performance stats aren't too different. Will be cheaper and deal will be done within a day or two. So he's saying, move on and get somebody else. And we have Emmanuel Bowler. What is really holding up the Frankie de Jong transfer? So we have heard there in the last few minutes the speculation around it. So give us your thoughts on whether you think if it is a money-based halting, should we walk away and consider other options? And then finally for now, sorry, my mouse decided to freeze for a second. I see Stephen Fletcher in the chat. He's saying big up to everyone. And
hi, Steve.
He's saying 17 million isn't greed. It's a contract. Imagine your boss didn't pay you your money. You would have been fuming. Solo, speaking of which, where's our cash? We haven't seen it in about 2 years. So, Christian David Rodriguez I think
Hi.
you're new to the channel, so a big hello. Lysandra only United agree with Ten Hag with Ajax demanding. So I think United and I have agreed to Ajax's demands, and Lysandro appears to be on his way. It's what he's saying, I believe. Oh, and sorry, we do have one more. I'm only after seeing Ankle in the chat there. He says people need to calm down over this Frankie Saga. He can't come out publicly and say he wants out. Barca owe him money. So thank you very much, everyone, for your views. And remember, if you do like what you see, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. We're on the road to our next milestone, and we would love to achieve it before start the season. So if you do like what you're seeing, please do consider giving us a like and a subscribe. So, gentlemen, I think
Just
that brings. Oh, sorry.
one more newbie there. Right.
Go on. Where did you see the newbie?
It's a
Pat?
Gopal Ram Goban.
Hello, Gopal Rambogan. Welcome to the channel. And yes, I do think we probably do need a right winger. But then, if we do get Martial humming, then do we end up having to consider that maybe this season we can continue without acquiring in that position? And Adil Ahmed says, when will Ericsson be official? So there's quite a few questions about the dealings of Manchester United, but and Mr. B there is laughing at, obviously that's the dinner joke, and I think we've had that one already from Gerard Romero, and Shopping Solutions again is back with more comments. So lads, we're coming into the final third, and this one is a bit close to our hearts, Pat. The question of the Hawkeye system and what it would bring to the Premier League. Now, obviously, we're more than familiar with it from GAA circles. It is utilised because in the past, the GAA recognised a possible flaw with human error in regards to when a ball went beyond the field of play. There was a game that my own county Kerry were involved in, and a bad decision resulting in a ball coming back from an out of play position. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt that briefly because I do see Vincent is giving us a very generous super chat. Frankie de Jong is only about the joy of playing, very humble and frugal. He's very embarrassed when he gets a flashy car from Ajax and traded it for a cheaper one. So very much a humble man. But to return...
Rebel, and if it's true that he's turned up for training when still owed €70 million, that speaks volumes for the man.
Yes, indeed. I do agree with you wholeheartedly on that front. But with regards to Hawkeye, to set the scene for you to carve your steak knives open on, there was an issue with a ball going out in play. The ball then was returned to the field of play and resulted in a Kerry goal against Tipperary on that day, which changed the pattern of the game and resulted in an unfair alteration. Whether or not at the end of the game Tipperary would have won we'll never know at this stage, but it led to the GA investigating solutions in order to make sure that that didn't happen. The result was Hawkeye, which came in 2013, and it was utilised by way of a sensor, and that will let the ref know if there's a bad decision. So the premise is, if you think of, to explain a GA goal, if you think of a rugby goal with a net in the under post of the goal, like a soccer goal, if the ball passes between the two upright posts, then it will signal that a point has been scored. Now, unfortunately, there has been some high-profile errors with the system in the GA. It is only currently in three stadiums within Ireland. That is Croke Park, Park Equive, and Thurles Simple Stadium, I believe, are the three that currently have it. And the two highest profile ones was when a Hawkeye check was done, it returned the verdict of no data available. And at the weekend just gone, it ruled out a point which had been granted by our umpires and stated that it was wide. And at halftime, there was video evidence sent to the Hawkeye official, which led to the referee having to overturn. So now this system is coming to the Premier League, and it is intended, in addition to the goal line watch that the referee already utilizes to make automated offside calls, i.e., no more drawing the lines and spending about 5 minutes deciding if the line is in the right position. Do you think this is a good advancement for the Premier League? And do you think that it could be an over automation giving more possibilities of technological failure?
Yes, it can only improve the game. It was like originally, it was first brought out in 2001 for cricket. So if it's been out that long, it has to be vastly improved by then. It's used in. Am I right in saying it's used in tennis as well as cricket? Okay. So if it's been used if it's been trialed since 2001 and it's being used currently in tennis and cricket, maybe it's time we need to step it up and introduce it into our game, because fine margins decide games, and I believe that was the correct reason why it was brought into tennis in the first place. Am I right in saying that?
I believe you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's it.
On Monday, we do have a graphic as well. If you want to utilize that as part of your viewpoints on it.
If I can just try, thank you. Yeah. Let's just read it out here. So the offside technology, semi-automated offside technology, will be used at this year's World Cup, promising decisions that are more accurate and a lot quicker, World Soccer's governing body FIFA said on Friday. In what could be considered an extraordinary development in the officiating of the game, technology will be able to resolve conscientious? Yeah, offside calls and speed and actually unimaginable less than a decade ago, using cameras strategically positioned around the stadiums and a chip in the match ball. That obviously for going over the line, we use at the moment. FIFA said the technology would go a long way to cutting down continuous video assistant refereeing as VAR decisions on marginal offside calls and reduce time needed to check. So there's the solution there, is to reduce time, speed things up, make quicker decisions as well. And I think that can only be a positive for football on the whole. It's just my view on all this is I agree with what Pat was saying. 20 years ago, the technology was there to have this with cricket, with the Hawkeye, with the LBW decisions, and you can see the trajectory of this ball, and you can refer to Hawkeye, and it was good, and it's really good for cricket crowd as well when they see the big screen now. Unlike football, you can refer it, because sometimes with cricket, you make a decision, it's down to the umpire, and that can lead to corruption, as we've seen with like Steve Buckner, for example. He was ruthless. Sometimes you'd think he should have retired 20 years before he actually did retire, because he made some dodgy decisions. And we see a lot of corruption in cricket as well about players going out. So when it comes down to the official, there's always that risk of human error. As regards to football, I think when you've got motion and players moving around, now that we've got the technology, they're saying you can have 10 cameras in a game, which they're going to trial at the World Cup. 10 cameras at a stadium, which will, for one, pick up every movement, every player on the pitch, and also they will also be able to pick out when the ball was played. So this is the thing about offside, where so when the ball's played and see who's offside. That's perfect, because I was doing a line the other day. I was doing a line for an academy game, and I had to sort of remind myself, right, I'm watching when the ball's played and I'm watching the movement as well, because defenders now, they're getting so savvy about when to push up, not like Baresi those times, Mason Land, but they're getting really savvy about it. So I'm watching, and strikers' movement as well. So you have to reward good movement, you have to reward good defensive line and communication, and watch when the ball's being played as well. There's so many factors to watch for a linesman. So you do need some assistance. This is why they call them not linesmen anymore, assistant referees, don't they? Because they're assisting the ruling of the game. I think it's a positive if it works. Obviously, it can only work in certain stadiums, Premiership maybe. What happens if, like, Bournemouth have just gone up? Would they have the technology, the facilities to bring in their small stadium, to bring that in? I don't know. Is that going to be a standard that all Premiership teams coming up have to provide that in the stadium? Who knows? I don't know. But we're going to see a trial. And I think we had a trial in the World Club Championships recently as well. So it's only by trial that you see if there's any error, and then you can improve on that before you make it mainstream and put it out there for good. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens this World Cup. Remember, we improved the goal line technology with the Frank Lampard goal when it went against Germany. Remember that one? And remember the Roy Carroll one, Spurs against Man United? That's been improved because you've got the chip in the ball now. But now with these offsides, we've seen limbs and toenails and noses just slightly being offside. I think what they're doing, they're trying to make the rule more entertaining for fans, make the game more entertaining. And what we've seen since 1990, I don't remember that World Cup, that was really when football sort of reached ahead. It was sort of stalemate where the pass-back rule was in play. You could slow up games, and there was different strategies to stifle teams. And it was a disappointing World Cup in terms of goals scored, that kind of thing. So since then, they made a key conscious decision to change the game, and the pass-back rule was brought in. And also they said you can be level and onside. And now Arsene Wenger, a couple of years ago, he's come along and said you can be any part of your body can be level with the defender and you can be onside. So that's how they're pushing it. And that's going to change the game again. So teams and tactics will have to adapt and evolve to this. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. At the moment, we see a lot of high presses. So imagine what it does. It's favouring the attacking side of the game. So if you're thinking, I'm going to go in a low block because I'm not worried. These offsides are not really going in our favour. You can be it's favouring the attackers. Then you can see a lot more low block teams. Then again, you're going to get teams who are going to say, right, let's push up higher up the pitch and congest the play in the opposition half of the pitch and stifle them and suffocate them. So when they do get the ball, we can read it with a rest defence, as we were talking about earlier. So there's advantages and disadvantages. If it's down to the coaches now to use their brains and use their tactics to adapt and evolve to these new rulings, which will make things almost perfect. No more corruption, no more betting scandals, no more dodgy referees, that kind of thing. It's a balance, really. I don't mind it. I play Sunday football. I see some dodgy decisions every week, and I wish we did have VAR, for example. But on the top, when there's millions involved, remember when Sheffield United got relegated a few years ago on certain decisions, I think if they're going to invest like that, it will remove all doubt. And when it weighs up over a season, about VAR decisions, you're seeing league tables now with or without VAR. It doesn't matter. The ruling is right. If you're offside, you're offside, and it's going to be proven to the T, 99.9% right. So I'm with it.
Now, Monday, don't be looking at me and Pat when you talk about that offside rule or that pass-back rule. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't created because of Ireland. We had nothing to do with it. It wasn't us.
Jack Charlton's football.
Well, just there on the matter of VAR, I want to actually bring a question that was raised in the tennis, where apparently we're seeing a lot more player challenges. They're questioning the accuracy and the authenticity of the VAR. Could this lead to what is already an issue with players swarming refs in football, more of that kind of unsporting-like conduct from players because they would be agreed at a decision by technology?
Is it being brought in as an assistant to a referee because it has got its flaws?
The article that I read today said that the technology will mean that they will not have to draw the lines, and that the decision will still be there to make if they were interfering with play or not. So whether there's a technological flaw in the actual drawing up the lines, it does not appear that the officials will be taking part in that side of it.
All right, okay.
Can I just add to that then? If you're talking about tennis, we've just had Wimbledon, one of the big Grand Slams. In all Grand Slams now, Hawkeye is used. These Grand Slams are the 4 big major tournaments: Australian, Wimbledon, Paris, and US Open. So they're used just to eliminate any doubt. Because sometimes when the ball's being played or served at 140 miles an hour and it's just on the line and it's left human line judge or something to judge it, you can't always get it right at that sort of speed. So that's when technology comes in. It does work for them. And even with foot faults as well, I've seen some foot faults, which is like when you're serving and your foot goes over the line, even by millimeters. A line judge might be sitting there trying to read it and call it, and then you can go to the technology, but it'll show you 3D graphics and prove whether it's right or wrong. The same with any line calls as well. So it does work in tennis, and you're getting less and less. I cannot be serious, John McEnroe outbursts, even though we did have the Australian dude recently doing that a lot. So I think it does eliminate that. It eliminates doubt. John McEnroe used to go off because he thought the umpire was wrong. and then someone be a bit arsy with him, and then it'd be like, oh no, you're against me, that kind of thing. There's no doubt when you see it on the screen, and some players, when they see it on the screen, and the whole crowd are waiting to see the graphic, when the ball hits the line, it just touches a millimeter. It's great for entertainment. It's great for the studio. It's great for the fans as well when you've got the big screens on in the stadium. So I think it works in that respect, and also in long jump and triple jump in athletics, when they have the you hit the board, and then you have a little what's this called? Play-doh, not Play-Doh, but you know what I mean, plasticine. So if your foot indents into that plasticine, you will be called for a foul. And so sometimes it's so minimal that then you have to look at technology, look at cameras. You have to look at photo finishes as well, horse racing, athletics. They got it down to the thousandths of a second. Some people could have the same time, 9.99, but then it would save 9.99 to 1,000 of one to how you can separate things. So technology is really taking part in sport now, and you're getting real winners and real losers. You can separate the differences between the two. And I think with the offside rule, which is it's getting changing all the time, like I say, over the years, it's always giving advantage to the attacking team or the team with the ball, then it's making things more entertaining. We're getting more goals per game, and the Premiership is a brand. It will improve in that respect.
Okay, lads. I'm going to give the final say on this topic to our viewers before we move on to our final state of play for the night, and that is going to be the any other business. Eddie Football Waffle says too much technology. They'll be putting in robot refs next. Ankle says technology innovations are very useful for football, but the issue will be their implementation, as it's only semi-automated and still relies on competent refereeing. Colin says, with how much technology is coming into the game, fans are going to have to unit. Okay. On the back of their shirts, Maguire defending against AI players. Okay. And Ankle then is telling us that we'll come to that in any other business. So, folks, we have had some very stimulating conversations today. So it's now the OMONDI sponsored any other business section. So, lads, that question relies any other business.
I'll go first. I want to say my first business would be saying hello to not Triple H, but Double H. That's Helena Hopkinson, all the way from New Zealand, and one of our favorites now. You're tuning in regular now. I like that. How you doing, girl? I hope everything's going well. She's saying, hey, gentlemen, what's a great job? As always, thank you so much. Any other business? So I want to talk about players going out. I think there's no news directly, but you mentioned Jones earlier, talking about the 4. Jones could be out of here. I don't know how you guys feel about that, because he's been a great servant, the last player to win a league title with us, a major trophy. We're in a new era now. I'm really excited. I just want to talk about the game quickly, because I didn't really get an opportunity to talk about the game much the other day. And I just want to go over the goals very quickly, because this is any other business for me. Martial's goal, he pressed high and pinched the player, then dribbled direct into the box from the right-hand side. Once he got into the box, he was touched, and waited for the keeper to go down and dink the keeper. Beautiful goal. The first goal was a set play that we've seen them drilled with the training they were doing previously the day before. Exactly the same thing. Touch. Camp it in one area and then switch to play. And then Sancho was there to pick up the pieces from an error from the defender. The Fred goal was beautiful. Numbers in the box, pressing high. Liverpool didn't have the composure to get the ball out, and that's what led to Fred getting the ball from outside the box and use his weaker foot to dink it over the goalkeeper. And the final goal, lovely. Bailey was involved. He's driving forward, giving that extra option, giving that little extra overload. And then Ahmad, who I really think could replace Antony and be a player of the future. I still got faith in him. Played it to his 5'5" colleague, which is Palestri, in the box. We saw in the first half, Rashford had an opportunity to square it, but he decided to shoot. Ahmad showed that awareness, and what he's really got, one of his strengths is that his ability to look up, head up, and pass the ball. And in that area, it's very good feet. And he played it square for Palestri, who I'm really pleased for, scored his goal. So I think there's a lot of promising things, and that's the any other business I wanted to talk about, but I didn't get the opportunity yesterday. Come on, United.
My any other business would be, I'm absolutely delighted with the fact that there's outs going out as well. We have to let go of the likes of the nostalgia of Phil Jones. We have to let go of Eric Bailey. Axel Tuanzebe was brought up. I think myself and OMONDI and Rebel were speaking about it earlier. He's gone home from the tour at the moment. It's said in the MEN that it was for a slight personal reason. It might be a personal reason. There's also rumours that he's been linked to Bournemouth. So I like that Axel Tuanzebe. The first time I seen him in the flesh was about 5 or 6 years ago in a friendly against Sampdoria in Ireland, and he came off the bench. He looked well. He done excellent in the PSG game, but he's had too many injuries and too many failed loan spells. So it's unfortunately he looks like the real deal when you're looking at him on the pitch, but it just hasn't worked out for him. So unfortunately, it's a cutthroat business, and we need to be the best, and we have to move on. Unfortunately for Axel, as much as I had a lot of promise for him.
Thanks very much, Pat. Well said. So it's a case that Eric Ten Hag needs to embody his inner Anne Robinson, say, "You are the weakest link. Goodbye." But my only other business is to thank my colleagues here, Amundi Juma and Pat, for coming on. There is going to be another pre-season friendly coming up, and it is believed that we will be facing a familiar foe in one Mr. Nanny in that game. So I'm looking forward to seeing one of our old players coming back up against us and seeing how his game has progressed since his days at Manchester United. We will, of course, be back again tomorrow at 8:30. I believe Mr. B and TalkMU will be in the hosting chair. Obviously we'll have more stimulating topics, and hopefully for Manchester United fans' sake, some deals to confirm. But let's see how that plays out. As I said, if you do like what you have been seeing in the channel, please do give us a like, a share, and a subscribe if it's not too much trouble. And one final time, I would like to plug the fantasy football. It will be on fantasy.premierleague.com. There is the code if you'd like to join. But from me, from Amundi Juma, and from Pat, we have been the Man United Agenda, and we will see you all again soon.